Hello, Virgo. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Virgo is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Virgo, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. Here is a Prince of Swords, a fixed air energy. I feel like you're somebody with really a very keen perception. You know, I feel like you kind of notice those details that other people don't notice, right? You pay attention. Okay, I think you're somebody who kind of like, it's like you always kind of know what to do. You know, I have a feeling, I have a sneaking suspicion that like you're always right. You know, I feel that no matter what the situation is that you're in, I feel like you kind of like you can figure out the answer. Like you know what you're talking about even when you don't know what you're talking about. You know, you have the type of mind that can like look at anything and see how it works and see how it's put together. You have tremendous insight. And you have tremendous, like, you know, attention to all those details. And it kind of like, it's not like analysis, really. It's just kind of like, it's intuition, really. It's your ability to perceive everything all at once and kind of know the answer, know the way forward, or know the true nature of something. Okay? I feel like you can read people very easily. I feel that you can identify things very easily, okay? And I feel as if somebody is kind of calling upon that skill in your life right now, like somebody really kind of needs you to help out or something like that, yeah? Let's put this into a little bit of context and let's see what's going on with you. There's the Lover's card. That's something you're going to say yes to, okay? We have a Four of Cups. You have an Art or Temperance card. Three of Pentacles. The Moon card. Interesting. Interesting there. We have a Knight of Wands. We have an Eight of Swords. We have the Death card. We have the Chariot card. Okay. Yeah, I feel that there may be... there's some uncertainty about the future. You're saying yes to something even though you don't really... This is one thing where you can't really see exactly what's going on, you know? You're looking forward and all you see is that darkness, but this is kind of like saying you have to trust it, even if you can't see everything all at once and kind of have the certainty, even if you don't know everything right now. You're being told to say yes and go forward anyway. And that, I think, is kind of like, well, wait a minute. You know, I think that you like to know what you're getting into. You like to be the one that knows the way. You like to be kind of the smartest person in the room sometimes, you know. I think right now there is something that is urging you to kind of trust the imperfection, to trust the chaos, to trust the unknown, to trust the uncertainty. Don't try to know everything. You know, don't expect to be right. I don't think in this situation it's not about being right. Maybe it's about being surprised. Maybe it's about transformation. Maybe it's just about the beauty of something. Maybe it is, you know, maybe it's about something else. I feel like somebody is kind of asking you, or something is asking you to say yes to some uncertainty. And I feel like that's kind of that's a challenge for you. Yeah. Let's select our mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set this down right over here with our little horse, Mr. Ed, right there on top. And we're not going to look at that horse, of course, until the very end. It will tie everything together, and it will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. If at any moment during this message you feel like you might know what that card might be, put your prediction in the comments section down beneath the video. Now, let's look around the room. We see major, 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 major. Okay, 5 major arcana energies. That's quite a lot. Okay, I think that this is, this is a kind of a test for you. Okay, because it's a test of your. Oh, it's a test of your resilience in a way. Okay, I think it's pushing you into imperfection. It's pushing you into the unknown. This is something that you aren't going to immediately excel at it. Okay, it's something that you might not be able to fully predict or control. I feel like Spirit is asking you to release a little bit of control in a certain area of your life. Okay, it seems like there is something that you're in a pressure cooker kind of situation here. It's almost like you have really no choice right now but to accept the unknown. It's like you're agreeing to something, but you don't really know what you're getting into. Okay, but Spirit's saying that you're going to progress through this. It is something that it's a transformative experience. Okay, fire, water, a couple of air cards, and we have our earth cards. Okay, so this could be it could be a business thing. It could be something at work, career. It could be something creative. It could be something that it could be romantic. It could have to do with family or friends. It could be something at school. Okay, it's something in life, right, that is asking you to say yes, even though you don't know what it is, where it's going. You're being told to kind of step into the unknown. You're being asked to leave the comfort and safety of the 4 of Cups and to take a risk in the dark, scary forest. Okay, you're kind of, this is the stereotype of being at the edge of a dark wood. What are you gonna do? And so the decision might really, with the Prince of Swords, it might be that we're kind of on the fence about it because we don't know exactly what it's going to be. You're being told to take a leap. Okay. And maybe this idea of having any kind of predictability or order is really just, us trying to make sense of this chaos that's both behind us and, the uncertainty in front of us. Just trying to maintain our point of view or maintain our worldview. Okay, this feels like it is going to be a major upgrade for you, but it's very challenging for you to step out of the comfort right now. Okay. A lot of major arcana energies. Now, the Lover's card is the card of choice. Doesn't have to be romance. Okay, put your torches and your pitchforks away. It could be romance. You're being asked to step into a situation, to say yes to something that you don't have all the answers. You're not the one who is necessarily like always right in this situation. Okay, you're being given the choice to either like kind of stay where we've been or to move forward into something that is going to require that we let go of a little bit of that need to be right, or the need to understand, or the need to control. So saying yes to this is almost a release in a way. Yeah. The Lover's card is a union. Okay, it's the choice. It's either we're either saying heck yes, 1,000% to something, or we're not. And the Prince of Swords is kind of on the fence. And it's kind of saying, I can't say yes to this until I understand it fully. I can't say yes to it until I know everything about it. Until I make sure that nothing's being hidden from me. I can't say yes until I have all the data, all the facts. Until I fully understand it, until, because that kind of gives you a feeling of control, right? Until it makes sense for you. Until everything kind of checks out. Until all the math adds up. But I feel like right now, that's not what the universe is offering you. The universe is saying there is going to be no certainty about this. Okay? It's almost asking you to step out of your head a little bit. And instead of having to see kind of the practical nature of everything or the kind of logical flow of things, having that kind of order or understanding, or it's almost like there's a certain control or a certain power you have over things when you know it. When you know a thing, then it's kind of like you can control it. Does that make sense? So this is a situation where it almost feels like you're surrendering control. And you're being asked to say yes to something that it may be a journey, it may be a new job, it may be a relationship, it may be a romance. Okay? You're trying to make that decision whether or not to step outside of this Four of Cups. Okay? Four of Cups is safety. The Four of Cups is almost like a complacency. Yeah. To me, it feels like this is a safe harbor. It's a kind of, it's a storm shelter. And it kind of is suggesting that you had a storm, right, on the sea in your life. There was an emotional storm. And where you are now in your life is predictable. It's routine. It's familiar. I know these walls. I know this life. I know these people. I know these things around me. And because I know them thoroughly, I'm very familiar with all of them, it gives me a sense of control. That in the vast chaos of the sea, I found a little island that can be just mine. I've got walls up there, and it's safe, And we've gotten to know this place very, very well. And it makes it very difficult to leave again. We start getting really cozy in our little box, And I think it's emotional. I think this is an emotional familiarity. This is an emotional safety that we feel. And it may be that your sense of order, your sense of everything needs to kind of be done a certain way. I feel like the way you do things in life, like just cleaning the dishes or something, like you have a very specific way that you like to do them. And anything that kind of that deviates from your method, okay, or your process or your procedure feels like chaos. Because to me, the Four of Cups is like, well, any of the fours, we're trying to, it's kind of like, we're trying to stay protected from the chaos. Okay? This is a little ship on the sea that just is like, as long as I stay inside here, then I'm okay. I'm protected from all of the chaos that's outside. It's the storm shelter energy, right? And so it kind of feels that some of our routines, some of our habits, like the way that you wash the dishes the same way with the same kind of soap, the same the same number of scrubs or whatever, like it's like you have a certain way of doing things that you are attached to. And I think that you do them that way because they work. They make sense. It's a very logical thing. But I think the issue is that if anybody were to come into your life and try to do things a different way, it's like you don't want anybody to wash the dishes because they're not going to do it the same way you do it. And that kind of frazzles you a little bit, yeah? This might be a situation where, you're kind of being asked to step into or to allow a little bit of that chaos in. Maybe this is a family member that wants to come stay with you. Maybe this is a romantic situation where you really are like in love with this person, but it's just like, I don't think I can take it any further because you've got your way of doing things. Okay? And I think that gives you a sense of safety and a sense of control. Somebody else, like you don't want to live with anybody else. You don't want anybody to stay with you. You don't want to say yes to anything that's going to force you then to have to like adapt to somebody else or to do things the way somebody else wants to do them. You don't necessarily want to compromise. Okay, and I don't blame you. And I think when we get comfortable in a life like that, it's very difficult to let anything else in that might disrupt our flow or our routine. Okay, so I feel like that's why Spirit is kind of like asking you to release control just in one, maybe like in one task, like just give up washing the dishes. Okay, or if it's something at work, something's changing, let's say. Something's changing in your world, and you're being asked to accept that, to say yes to it, to be okay with it. Okay? And maybe it is a partnership. Maybe suddenly you got a new person in your office with you. Kind of we're doubling up on the office space or something. Or whatever it might be. This may be at home, it may be at work, it may be at school. Something is changing, and you're being asked to to be okay with the new way of doing something. And so Spirit's kind of saying, like, just pick one thing in your life and practice letting go of it. Okay? So that you can sort of see what it feels like to let somebody else do things their way, even if it's like, that's not how I would wash the dishes. Okay? But I'm practicing being okay with that. Let's start with one little thing. And I think really it's like, you kind of look at the way they're doing it and you think that's wrong. They're doing it wrong. They're making mistakes, right? The flaw can really be a doorway for you to have kind of an easier time. You can let go of some of that stuff. It doesn't really matter as long as it gets done, as long as the dishes get clean. It doesn't matter if they're going clockwise or counterclockwise. Okay. And I think that it's kind of a door for you to get out of that sort of, that safety zone of things have to be done a certain way for me to feel okay. I don't know what exactly this is in your life, but I feel like it gives you some anxiety thinking that somebody else is going to come in and do things differently. Or, I don't know, maybe this is your business and you don't want to hire anybody. Or you're trying to get everybody to do things exactly the way you want them to. But it's not going to happen, And so Spirit is sort of asking for your acceptance here, or your willingness to kind of participate in that chaos. And maybe it feels like chaos, but maybe once you step outside that door and you get a little familiarity, again, just to pick one task. Whether it's at home, at school, at work, it doesn't matter. Pick one task in your life and practice letting go. And letting somebody else do it. Maybe it's like, there's a family member that keeps saying, hey, let me do the laundry for you. And you keep saying, no, I'm going to do it. I like to do it how I do it. Pick one thing and let somebody else do it. Maybe it's at work. Maybe it's running the TPS reports. No, I'm going to do them myself. I do it how I like to do it. I like them set up a certain way. No, thank you. Making coffee. Some people are very, kind of very particular about how they make their coffee. Pick one thing and let it go. Let somebody else do it. And I bet you're going to be sitting there kind of clenching your fist, gritting your teeth. You don't want to even watch because it feels like they're doing it wrong. That coffee's going to be terrible. Those reports are going to be all disorganized, all chaotic. Try to ease into that a little bit. Okay? And that's our Four of Cups. But behind you now, you have the sort of Temperance card. To me, it feels like there's a blending of energies that is possible here. This is a blend. This is oil and water to me right now. This is homogeneous. This is now kind of an emulsification at least, right? But this is oil and water that just kind of like we just don't mix. Okay, I do things my way, you do things the wrong way. That's the difference, you know? That's the difference between us. And I think that, you know, this is kind of making life more challenging for you. This is stressful. Okay, feels like you're two different people, and you are. Whether this is, you know, I don't know, maybe it's a new relationship, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a new coworker, maybe it's the same old coworker, maybe it's a roommate, maybe it's an in-law that's staying with you. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's a new classmate, maybe it's a new teacher at the school or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but it's oil and water. Y'all aren't mixing together, okay? And I think what we need is to test it a little bit, to practice letting go of the little something little, so that you can breathe a little bit easier, and maybe you can kind of, you know, ease into this. But to me, the Temperance card is that the situation for you where it feels like there are two very separate energies that are not doing a very good job mixing together. Okay. Maybe this is I don't know if it kind of feels like a new coworker, but I guess it could be someone in the home, someone in the family. And we're not really getting a big indication one way or the other. Okay. But it feels like you have your inner safety, and this is like, you don't want anybody violating this kind of boundary, you know? Because this is this like, hey, wait a minute, this is my classroom, this is my office, this is my job, my business. Well, for whatever reason, you're having to share it with somebody else, okay? So maybe it does feel like home. It feels like, wait a minute, no, you're coming into my space, and you're gonna make the coffee? You know? But the problem here, Virgo, is that you can't do everything. That's over here. You can't do everything yourself. And really it's not practical, it's not possible, and it's also not, you shouldn't have to. You know, you shouldn't have to. It's like you can't, and also you literally can't. Like you can't tell somebody else how to wash their hands. You know, I mean, you can say, hey, you're doing it wrong. Or you know, brush your teeth. Do you put water on the toothbrush first? Or do you put the toothpaste on and then you put some water on there, right? People are very particular about that too. And I don't mean to say that you're that kind of, that you're that particular, okay? But whatever this situation is, it feels like that. It feels like somebody is coming in and doing things the wrong way. And it's sort of sending us into a little bit of this chaotic feeling. Okay. Up here, the Three of Pentacles, this is understanding. But this is you understanding the process of change on the physical plane. I think you understand that things have to change, that this is just obviously it's not practical for me to try to do everything and make the coffee. Okay? Some things just, you know, have to be done a different way than how I might try to dictate them. Okay? Maybe this is something for a holiday coming up, or, you know, this is somebody that's staying at your house, maybe, you know, whatever it is. Maybe the kids are home from college. I don't know. I guess maybe people are going back to school now. I don't know. But this is kind of like it's a different process than what you sort of believe is the right way. So in some sense, the Three of Pentacles is you understanding the right way to do something, and then there's everybody else's way. But I think that this is really a very kind of grounded and practical realization that you can't control everything. Some things are going to have to change. Okay, maybe at the school, the way they do the pickup line for the kids is different than how it was last year, and you're saying, well, we should do it this way, right? But maybe it's not your decision, really. You know what I mean? So I think you understand the necessity for things to just be allowed to be different. It's not that you don't understand that, just that inside with this Four of Cups, it's hard to be okay with that. It's hard to be okay with change. Because 3 plus 4 is 7, and the 7 is always a challenge, right? The 7 is kind of like any kind of change is a bad change. Even if you understand the kind of logical or the practical need for change, it feels like chaos, okay? So the Lover's card, I think, is really you accepting this situation, kind of learning to mesh with something right now. This is oil and water. There's kind of like we're trying to unite, but it's not working. You're being asked to kind of figure out how to make it work by doing what you can do to release a little bit of your control here. Okay, and trying to find the unity. The Moon card in the future position is chaos. It's uncertainty. It's the unknown. And to me, it feels like you don't want this union or this change. You don't want to say yes to this in that kind of accepting way, right? You don't want to accept this situation because it feels like there's no control. It feels like you're just saying yes to chaos. Why would you do that? It's like, no, why would I allow this energy in? Why would I accept this? Why would I say yes to this? I'm just inviting in chaos and uncertainty and, all those. It's like I'm letting the monsters in. Why would I do that? Doesn't make sense, But I think this card kind of has the secret there because on the one hand, it's saying things are changing whether you like it or not. The sun is about to rise. It's going to be a new day, okay? That maybe it is what it is, But this card is also talking about once you get there and you actually see the way things are working, because right now we're inside our house. Okay, we got the curtains are closed, the blinds are down, the lights are off, and we're saying it's scary out there. There's monsters, it's nuts, it's chaos. Nothing out there I want. No. And I think once you take a step outside, and you kind of look around a little bit, and you take a couple extra steps, I feel like your eyes start to adjust. You start to see things, and you think, well, you know what? This isn't so bad. This isn't so scary. It's kind of then you drink the coffee, and you're expecting the coffee to be just terrible. But then you take a sip and you say, you know what? It's not the way I would do it, but it's all right, I kind of feel like this has been a movie plot, probably several movies like this. You're not going to really know what it's like until you get there. You're not going to know till you go. You are the sun. The sun is your perception. It is your clarity. That right now it's darkness. Yeah, because you haven't done it. You're expecting it to be terrible. Okay, because you haven't actually said yes and opened your heart, opened your mind, opened your doors, and let that energy in and embraced it. Once you embrace it, you may find that it's not all that scary after all. Okay, this is a doorway. Let's do a divine doorway oracle card. Palmistry, fortune and tarot, collective destiny. The palm lines from birth tell your sacred palmistry. Listen to the notes of intuition. Okay, collective destiny. Okay, collective destiny. I feel like this is something that Spirit is saying, look, things are changing and you can't undo it. You can't prevent it. You can't change the change from happening. Kind of a death card here. This is inevitable. Things cannot stay the same even though you like them how they've been. We have no choice but to adapt to the new way of doing things. We can practice letting go with those little things in life, okay? so that we can be more prepared and we can start to realize that our destiny is taking us into the unknown, and it's always unknown. We have this little house in the woods, but we realize that this is not safety. This is not protecting us from anything. This is a temporary storm shelter. This is not going to hold. You know, this is not a permanent thing. Change is going to happen. Change is inevitable. But we cling to the way that we like to do things. We all do it. And we don't want to let go because it feels good. It feels safe. It feels pleasant. It feels relaxing. It feels warm. It feels like a hug, you know. But the Spirit's saying, no, things are changing now. Things are evolving. They have to be different now. It's like you're living in an apartment and they suddenly tell you like, okay, you know what, we're changing the way we do the electric bill, or we're changing the way we do the hours for the gym or the pool. I don't know, maybe you're in a fancy apartment. I never had a gym at my apartment. But it's just like you can protest. You can say, no, I don't like that. But it's kind of not your call. Okay? Then you either can keep resisting it and it can be oil and water, or you can embrace it and say, okay, fine, the pool's going to close at 9 now instead of 10. Well, maybe that's just going to get me more motivated to get to the pool earlier in the day or something. I don't know. Maybe that's going to say, okay, well, now pool closes at 9. It means I can go to bed earlier, not at the pool till all hours of the night, or I don't know. But to realize that there may be some positive benefits to these changes, even though it kind of takes you out of your comfort zone. And obviously, I think the older we get, the more we dislike things changing. I like to do things the way I like to do them. I like to have my breakfast at a certain time. I like to eat things a certain way. I like to have a certain amount of time between my activities and my projects and these readings, and I like to do everything in that kind of way. But sometimes life forces us to do things differently, to adapt. Yeah, and we adapt and we're able to kind of grow our brains a little bit. It's unpleasant, sure, but I think we'll maybe see the hidden blessings. We'll maybe see that, hey, this is an upgrade. This isn't a problem or an inconvenience. It's actually an upgrade. Okay. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. All right. And let me know if you feel like this is resonating with you, okay? Hit that like button, leave a comment for me. The Knight of Wands here is that kind of overactive energy. It's fire on fire, okay? And this is telling me, because it's in your general energy, that you just feel like you want to do things how you want to do them. And I feel like you're not letting anybody come in and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to start making the coffee now in the mornings. You're saying, no, I'll do it. That's my response. That's my thing. That's my thing, you know? And they say, okay, well, I'll do the vacuuming. No, hey, that's my thing too. And so you feel as if you've got to do all of everything. And I think that is, that's causing this kind of oil and water not mixing, kind of clashing, this separation kind of thing. And I think that it's not sustainable. This is an energy that will burn out. Okay, the wheels will start falling off of this thing if we keep at it this way. But with the Eight of Swords in the environment, it feels like you're not on the same page as this person. It feels like there's an inability to really communicate. And it may really be, in terms of your communication with this other person or this other energy, it feels like there's an overcomplicated aspect to it. There's just too many steps or too many details, or there's too much talking or too much reasoning, too much analysis. I almost feel like simplification is really the best bet, okay? It may be that you kind of perceive that person as doing things in a much too complicated way. Maybe they kind of see the way you do things, and they think you're doing all these extra steps. Like, where's the efficiency, you know? But I feel that there is I feel like there's almost there's almost this feeling of sabotage, that we don't want somebody else to do a good job at it. Because maybe then, I don't know, if it feels as if somebody found a better way to do something that we were so sure of. Does that make sense? I feel like this is just kind of straight up, very on the nose. Somebody's coming in and interfering with your life. This is the card of interference. This is the card of static. This is the card of chaos. It's kind of like saying, look, I had the way I like to do things. I had a certain order to my life, and you're coming in, and it's like you're just a bull in a china shop. Like you're just, challenging everything and like moving stuff around. It's like one of those movies where someone has a bunch of papers all over their desk, just random piles of paper everywhere. And somebody comes in and starts trying to like organize those papers, and they say, hey, no. I have my own system. This is my filing system, right? This is organized to me. So in other words, we all have our idea of what our own organization looks like, the way we put our lives in order, but it may look like chaos to somebody else. Okay? The way I like to arrange my things in my office may look chaotic to some people, but I like it I like the things where they are. But really it comes down to somebody entering what you consider your personal space and interfering with the system that you've got in place. Okay? And that's not something that we easily allow. That's not something that we really welcome in, But maybe if we do a little experiment and we release the control for one small little thing, then we'll see that, okay, you know what, maybe they had a pretty good idea. Maybe what feels like their interference is really gonna help me. Maybe the two of you working together can really figure out a system that's going to streamline everything and make things way easier. Okay? But I think it's important that we don't automatically assume that they're interfering or they're making a mess out of the order that we have already established, kind of going from a 4 to an 8. This is my system, this is the way I do things, and then you're coming in, you're throwing a wrench in everything. You're just coming in like a tornado and like messing all my stuff up the way I had it. The Death card here reminding us that this is the process. This is a natural flow of things. There is nothing that you can do to stop the Death card. It is slow and steady change over the course of time. It's the nature of nature. It is the fundamental force of the universe. It is change. You cannot stop time. You cannot stop change. You can try to slow it down. You can try to interfere with change. But the Death card will win every time. It's not in a hurry. It's going to get to everybody eventually. And we can try to slow it down. We can try to stop it. But that usually just causes us the grief. Doesn't slow down the Death card, doesn't slow down the process of change, but it disturbs us. Okay? The only thing we can do is either get out of the way, or we could try to find a way to join forces with it, embrace it, and then we can have a little tiny bit of influence over the direction of that change. Okay? So in other words, in this situation you're in, you can resist it. You can try to interfere with it. It's going to steamroll right over you. Or you can join forces with it, and then you've got a little bit of a voice. And you can help direct the river a little bit. But either way, it's happening. Either way, it's happening. And you can either join forces, like I said, or you can resist and it can topple you. Okay? And that's it's the harsh reality right now. This is the card in the fear, worry, and concern. And it's change. It's the fear of change. Okay. The Chariot card is you fortifying yourself, having a thicker skin, and traveling forward. I think working in tandem with this flow of change. Okay? With that flow of change. And I think that you're capable of that. This is you back out at sea, outside the storm shelter, but you've got all of your armor on. Okay? You're as prepared as you can be, but you're outside the storm shelter. You're back out in that chaotic sea. That sea of change, you know. And I think that it's your willingness to sort of participate that's going to create more alignment and more harmony. I want to look at the mystery card. I want this to be a card of alignment and harmony. Leave a comment and put alignment and harmony in the comments, okay? Because I feel like this isn't something that you can continue to reject or resist. I think that we need to find a way to join forces with it. Form the kind of alliance, yeah. So what do you think this card's going to be? I think it might be a lover's card. It might be a 6 of something. Kind of going for the 6, yeah. Let's see what we have. The Hermit is your superpower card. The Hermit obviously is associated with the sign of Virgo, so this kind of gives me a little bit of a chuckle because in a way, it's kind of saying like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go do my thing my way, and I'm not going to join forces with this. Okay? Because it's obviously the lovers and the Hermit, kind of different, right? The Hermit and the lovers. The Hermit is kind of like saying, no, I'm going to turn my back on this partnership. I'm going to turn my back on this thing, and I'm going to continue to resist. You're like a stone wall here, right? Kind of looks like a stone wall. And you're going to follow your own light. You're going to do things your way no matter what. But since this card is also your superpower, I think it's about self-knowledge. I think it's about you really realizing where your obstacles and where your blockages are. You have this ability to really be introspective and realize how you might be quite stubborn right now, you know? And I think this is a card of that kind of knowledge of self, that gnosis. That you know where you might be resisting change. And I think that you are insightful enough to realize that, you know, 1, it's inevitable. And 2, maybe there's something good that'll come from this. Okay. Anyway, we're going to do an extended reading. If you want to stick around, we'll do an I Ching hexagram. We'll do some oracle cards. There's a link in the corner here. There's a link in the video description here. New readings for Virgo Mondays and Thursdays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I want you to know that you are the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you, and we are all in this together.